Hi, this is Kathy Basel with the Vitality Code. My passion is to help people tap into the natural flow of energy and vitality that I believe is around us all the time. What if you could experience energy like you had in your 30s? I believe it's possible. This reminds me of a beautiful quote from Rumi. He's talking about love. He says, "Our task is not to seek for love, but to seek and find the barriers we've created against it." So the same holds true, I believe, in how we create health. We positively can create health when we release the barriers. So what are some of the big barriers against this natural flow of energy and vitality? To me, one of the biggest are trapped emotions. Emotional baggage that we've been carrying around. And oftentimes it's because in our society, we really haven't been taught how to process emotions properly. One of the biggest ones, there's actually like two or three that come down to all the time, which is unworthiness. I'm feeling unlovable. And the other might be a sense of perfectionism as an offshoot of not feeling lovable or not feeling as you're enough. To me, this is the great ailment underlying most disease conditions. And it starts as an emotional trigger that over time, if we haven't processed this, we're carrying around this emotional baggage for tens, it could be 20, 30, 40 plus more years. How do you think that weighs you down over time? And what I find is by the time we hit about age 50, the emotional baggage is really slowing us down. So I think it's vital to create times when we go inward and look at some of the trapped emotions that are lying in there. A technique that I use is called the emotion code. The emotion code was developed by Bradley Nelson. He's a chiropractor who discovered this work to release trapped emotions that may have been trapped in there for ages. It's a simple technique, and I'd like to review it here of what you're going to experience when you come to a session with me. So the first thing we do is work with the subconscious mind. The body is an amazing thing, and I think of it in terms of like an iceberg. So if you think of an iceberg like this, the top 10% of the iceberg that sticks above the water is like our physical health. That's the only part you see. But what lies below the surface are those things, those thoughts, the beliefs, and the emotions are actually in our subconscious mind. They might be things that we're not even aware of that we're carrying with us all this time. It's like this emotional baggage is lying unseen under the surface of the water, and that's what the emotion code is designed to do. So this is what a session will look like. Essentially, I'll be speaking with your subconscious body. I use a muscle testing technique. There's all kinds of different techniques. The one I happen to use goes using a non-dominant hand and asking through my body to yours, speaking to your subconscious mind, are there trapped emotions that are seeking to be released? So oftentimes a firm handshake like this between these two hands, if it holds it firm, is a yes. If it breaks through, is a no. So using this simple technique, I can test with your body to see, are there emotions that are looking to be released? Oftentimes, like just about always, there are, because there's so much going on in our subconscious we're not even aware of. The cool part to me is that the process of just bringing these to our awareness is enough to allow the trapped energy to just dissolve, and these things can be released, never return to us again. So how would you like to release emotional baggage that you've been carrying around for 30 years and do it in the course of a 20-minute session? What we'll do is during the session is I'll talk to your body, we'll identify the trapped emotion, and we use a chart that's developed by Dr. Bradley. And this chart has 60 of the most common emotions. I'm going to pick on the first one because the first one was my core issue of abandonment. And how many different ways when we're children can you feel abandoned? Maybe my mom forgot to pick me up after gymnastics camp. But a big one for me was my dad ended up finding a new family that he went with. And so a lot of my patterning in that childhood ages that became the belief system that I created the rest of my life around was abandonment. I'm not lovable. I'm not enough. I've got to prove a lot to show that I am lovable. And how many times did I go to, I don't trust men. And how many times did I recreate that same pattern of men not being trustworthy because I had that belief? But really, the underlying emotion was abandonment. So what if we could go to your core emotion that's creating these repeating patterns in your life and release that now? So I'm just going to use that one as an example. What we would do is use the muscle testing, and I would ask, is the trapped emotion abandonment? Body might say yes. Through this process, then, same kind of questioning, we can go back and identify, was this trapped emotion from a childhood trauma? Yes. Was it before the age of 10? Before the age of 5? For me, it was more around the ages of 6 or 7. So again, I'm using my muscle testing and identifying for myself the trapped emotion was trapped around that age of 6 or 7. Sometimes during a session, it'll trigger a memory. For me, that's when my folks were divorcing, so it's very concrete. Other times, it might be something really insignificant. And it's funny because it doesn't really matter. We don't need to know everything about the emotion. We will identify as much as we can. It's not even necessary because the trapped emotion is literally an emotional, an energetic, if you will, kind of ball sitting in the body. And whether we identify it or not, we can ask the body if it's ready to release it. If it is, we've got a simple release technique. It goes like this. And essentially, we're looking to open the energetic channels to allow this trapped energy to be released. So the body moves in waves of energy, actually, and there's meridians that run throughout the body, sort of like the highways of our body where the energy runs down. And this is a common thing if you think about acupuncture. They're working with meridians. There's one core meridian called the governing meridian. That's sort of like the superhighway. It begins here at the chin, goes over the head, down the spine, and ends just about where your tailbone is. This governing meridian messages out to all the other meridians energetic messages about how the body's going to work with the energy that we've got. So if you've got a trapped emotion, it might be in your knee, we can release it using the governing meridian and an intentional saying. So here's how the intention goes. With love and intention, I release the trapped emotion of abandonment. We're going to message the release by using something pretty simple, which is a magnet. You can use something as common as a refrigerator magnet. Today I've chosen a very powerful one that was on the refrigerator here, a wolf magnet. Doesn't matter. I've got some healing magnets that I use in particular, but I thought this one would be fun for our video. So essentially I've got a trapped emotion of abandonment from age 6. What we're going to do is using the magnet, run the magnet down after saying the clearing statement 3 times. With love and intention, I release the trapped emotion of abandonment. Do it once. With love and intention, I release the trapped emotion of abandonment. 2, and a 3rd time. With love and intention, I release the trapped emotion of abandonment. 3. Now, some people feel physical things. I'm an energy worker, so for me, I can feel the tingling of the release happening. Other people experience very little. So it just depends. There's no significance one way or another. What we're doing is releasing trapped emotions that are creating patterns that are maybe not so positively affecting our lives. During a session, a typical session lasts about 30 minutes. Depending on your body, the level of severity of the emotion, we might be able to release upwards of 7, 8, sometimes even 10 emotions in one single session. Again, in just half an hour. Other times I've run into situations where one emotion was just so pervasive and so powerful and so gut-wrenching. A friend of mine came for a session to release, she was looking for how was trapped emotions affecting her ability to lose weight. She had tried everything. And obviously it wasn't the diet and exercise on the physical level that needed to be addressed first. It was actually some trapped emotions that was keeping her from loving herself. What we did through testing was found out that the trapped emotion was humiliation. We found out it was trapped from the age of 4. And when I asked about, I also did some muscle testing to find out it was in relation to her mother. And when we tapped all those things together, she burst into tears and said, she humiliated me every day of my life. That one emotion was powerful enough, that's all we did in that one session. 1 week later, she had lost 9 pounds and was having a hard time. She said not only keeping her pants up, but her underpanties too. So it's amazing how quickly the body will respond. So sometimes it might be subtle shifts. Other times you might have a profound shift, like my friend with the 9 pounds. This work is extremely powerful with pain. I've had instances where a gal, she had had her 3rd car accident, and the trapped emotion was actually back from the age of 6, where she felt helplessness was the trapped emotion. And you can imagine the type of circumstances it may have been, but within 3 minutes, that pain level that once was a 3, because of these repeating car accidents, which seem like something on a physical level, we released the trapped emotion of helplessness, and the pain went from an 8 to a 3 in about 3 minutes time. So this kind of work can be so powerful in releasing patterns, not only that are creating anxiety in the body, pain, any kind of dis-ease, which essentially you can think about emotions as a disruption to the healthy flow of energy through our body. So pretty much any physical condition. And think about the work of Louise Hay, who was a pioneer in this from the 70s. She had 30 beautiful years of helping us to understand how trapped emotions are actually the underpinnings of many of the disease. Anger, for instance, in my example with abandonment, I was angry for many, many years about the situation with my dad leaving our family. Anger sits in the liver. And I remember the day I decided that my patterning had happened enough with my relationships, and I was going to change that. On that day, I went to an energy healer to help me release that. We pulled all kinds of energetic anger out of the liver, and my life changed that day. What if your life could change in a single day? A single session. Sometimes people will ask, how many sessions does it take? You'll notice changes in the first one. Oftentimes it could take 2, 3, upwards of 4 or 5 sessions, but it's a beautiful body of work, highly dynamic. I call it rapid release of emotional baggage. Now, once you put that baggage aside, think how much more energy and vitality you can bring into living wholeheartedly a life full of vitality and aliveness. That's what we're after, and that's what I invite you to when you have a session with me.